Chiswick Eyot, which is one of the islands in the Thames. It's the most downstream island in the Thames. It's a nature reserve, but it's also a historical place because it was used to grow willows when Chiswick was London's market garden, and the willows were in those days coppiced, so cut right down to the ground, and the willows branches, which are called withies, were used to make baskets to take the produce from Chiswick into London. That was in the olden days. The trees have grown up now much more, and we now pollard them, which means we cut them to a higher level than when they were coppiced. And now what we're doing is using the cut willows to preserve the island. And volunteers come in, pick up all the cut branches and use them in the defences round the edge. There are two threats really, both invasive species. So there's an animal invader, which is the Chinese mitten crab, which came over from China in the 1900s, we think. Nobody's quite sure. The Natural History Museum are doing a project on it, researching it. And they're called Chinese mitten crabs because they have these hairy claws, which do look like furry mittens. And what they do is burrow into the bank, and they make these warrens, interconnected warrens, which loosens the mud. And then as the tide comes in and out, the mud gets washed away, and the island is much smaller now than it used to be. So we're building defences, I think they're called berms. So we're putting uprights into the edge and then weaving the thicker willows through those uprights, and then using bundles of thin willow branches behind to trap the mud. And then in some places planting reeds and things in that trapped mud. And that deters the, well, it traps the mud, so it stops it being washed away, but it also deters the crab, we hope.
Years of experience.
So that's one invasive species, and the other one is one that you can't see now because it's a plant, and it's called the Himalayan balsam. And every waterway in the country, or probably the world, is infested with this. And it's very pretty. It's a relative of the busy lizzie, so it's an annual. It grows to 10 or 12 feet. So this place in the summer is a jungle. The problem with that is that it's an annual. So when it dies in the winter, the roots die. It's very competitive, so the perennials that are native, like the nettle and various other plants that grow here, all die because they're smothered by the Himalayan balsam. And then, so they're dead, so their roots aren't there in the winter to hold on to the mud, which they would be doing. And the Himalayan balsam has taken over. And its roots die, and so the soil is exposed to the tide coming over the top of the island, which it does regularly. Really lovely how many people who've come because they've seen our signs up and have thought, I've never been on the island, I've got nothing to do, go and help. And we've had a huge range of people. We've had from 8 to 82. It's been wonderful because this island is a little magic place. It's a little microclimate, and just to be out out, doing something physical was great. It's been very rewarding from that point of view. Nice to get out and see new people. Ah.